So hi guys, it's Hump Day lesson day. As I said, I think this might be a special lesson. By the way, I've learned how to tune better since learning Alan Holdsworth songs, because you have to tune good, because he uses clean tone for chords, and they're very complex chords, and chords with very distinct and weird and different notes. And if you're out of tune even a little bit, you sound like crap, you know. So, and he does a lot of stuff on the higher strings. So I cleaned up my act on tuning guitar, largely for and because of Alan Holdsworth. Thank you, Alan, for that. You're going to play chords. You can't be out of tune, or it sounds like junk. And then recent updates about my playing and all that. Where do I start? I finally, after 30 dang years, think I'm getting alternate picking down, because I finally get it in my head what I'm doing, and I think I can pull off some Paul Gilbert Racer X stuff now, so I'm going to work on that. As well, I'm going to continue working on Alan Holdsworth songs, and I'm into Guns N' Roses and also maybe some Motley Crue lately, too. So I'm all over the map stylistically, but it's all music and rock and roll to me, you know. So, what else? I wanted to do this lesson. I thought about not giving any borrowed musical examples for this lesson and just leaving it totally up to my own self and my own originality, but maybe the actual examples will actually help the lesson be more learnable. And so for the lesson's sake, I've included 3 examples of songs that I think are going to help make my point, is what I'm going to teach today, at least part of what I'm going to teach. By the way, these are my washed Angry Birds jammies. My wife's daughter, I could call her my stepdaughter, but I'm not going to be presumptuous, washed them for me. So they weren't washed. I wore them for 10 months, and they had never been washed. And now she washed them, so they're really cool. And to show that I'm really wild at heart, not just in deed and not just on the surface, it's wild right now for me to wear shirtless. Angry Birds jammies. It's not always doing one thing that makes you wild. It's what you do, when you do it, how you do it. You know, it's how you think. You know, right now it's wild to wear a shirt. You know, these jammies for a lesson. Some thought in my head said, well, that would be weird, and I said, well, then let's do it. That's wild, right? If you do the same thing all the time, it gets not wild anymore. It gets predictable, and then you're not wild. And depending on what the thing is, some things are just eternally wild, but whatever. You get the point, I think. Part of wild shirtless guys, you don't know what I'm going to wear. So here I am with my Angry Birds jammies, no shirt, and my dad's navy dog tags on one of my favorite necklaces right now. So that's what I'm wearing for the lesson. So hope you guys enjoy that. These are my Angry Birds jammies. Thank you for washing them, daughter of Dal. Anyway, it sounds better when I'm in tune also. It sounds better when I'm in tune. And I think I need to clip my nails, but I'm going to forgo shutting off the video and doing that right this second because I forgot. Should I just do it in front of you guys? Would that be weird, or would that be kind of cool? I kind of need to clip my nails. I'm sorry, guys. I mean, this is a problem, right? Nails clipped is very important for guitar playing. I'll be right back. Sorry about this. I use the best. I use Revlon nail cutters, and yes, it's my room, so I can make a mess on the floor if I want. I need to cut my nails. You know, it's important to keep unless you want your nails for some effect, like you pick with them or something, but I don't do that. I mean, that would really be hard on the nails and plus unreliable, because what if the nail breaks? Suddenly I'm out without a technique. That seems very shaky as far as a technique. So I apologize for doing this on the camera. I have to do it though, and I didn't want to stop the camera, and I forgot to do it. So sorry about that. I use Revlon nail clippers. I can just tell if they're not Revlon. They just feel differently. Gotta cut my nails. It'll change the way I play for the better when I cut them, actually. I mean, for a while when they grow, they're okay, but then when I get too long, they start getting in the way, and they start slowing me down for some dumb reason. For some reason, when I have the nails are too long, it just slows me down. Like my fingers don't move as fast, or they have to carry the extra weight around, or something goes awry. That's one thing about not the moderator that I enjoyed. He always thought I had a good handle on the English language. My word choices. He liked my word choices. All right. All right, I got my nails clipped. Thank you for that. Okay. All right. With a lot of nothing without having said anything about music yet, and we're probably 10 minutes into the lesson already. What's up with that, huh? Okay, and I also raise the action a little on the guitar. It's nice to have the action low, but at some point you get better sound and better contact with the string if you raise it just a little bit higher than the lowest possible. If it's at the lowest possible, you're not getting a good tone usually, and strings can slip off easily, and you just can't get your hands on the strings. So I raise them a little bit. Okay, a couple of concepts are important today, and that's why I'm taking my time about it, because these are deep. The first concept is, someone said when I was growing up in the guitar store, in the guitar store, but taking lessons, he said, you got to know the blues. And the blues is, and that's a simple thing to say, but the blues is pentatonic and dominant seventh. But let's just go with the scale portion of that, pentatonic. After 43 years of playing guitar, I finally think I got the mastery over the pentatonic scale. Minor pentatonic, major pentatonic, and blues, and Wiseman scale. Sorry. Something like that. Or you get combinations thereof. Blues with the Wiseman. Try it again. That's a Wiseman / blues scale. It's got the Wiseman note, which is the major third over minor pentatonic, and it's got the blues note, which is a flat 5 over minor pentatonic. So it's a minor pentatonic with a raise with a major third and a flatted fifth added to it. Which is interesting because Slash just did that on my song, on the song I just did called Welcome to the Jungle. He goes. That Don, that's blues. That's Wiseman. He does it in B. That's blues. I mean, yeah, that's blues. That's Wiseman. He doesn't play that, but it's in the key of B. First, it's in the key E. In B. So interesting. Those are notes you can fiddle with. The major third, alone with the minor pentatonic, I call the Wiseman scale a flatted 5. Alone with the minor pentatonic, we call the blues scale. You combine the two, you can do with that too. You get 7 notes out of it. If you're an A, then if you add the 2 Dorian notes, which is the major second and the major sixth, suddenly you have 9 notes, which is called the composite blues scale. It's either Mixolydian blues, which would be Mixolydian and Dorian, which means a major third and a minor third on D, and also if I say Mixolydian blues, I'm adding the flat 5, and all those together make 9 notes, which are sometimes called the composite blues scale. A lot of notes in there. The only notes not in there are the major third. The major seventh, the flat 9, and the flat 6. So out of 12 notes, they're the only 3 that aren't in there. Okay, so getting my head around the minor pentatonic scale opened up everything else. Let's just put it that way. Once you know one thing, it's easy to add things to it. If you know minor pentatonic, add 2 notes, you get Dorian. Raise the third, you got Mixolydian. Raise the seventh, you got Ionian. Raise the fourth, and you got Lydian. And that kind of thing. Or if you're flatting them, if you add the 2 Dorian notes, you get Dorian. But the 6th, you get Aeolian. But the 9th, you get Phrygian. Flat the 5th, and you get Locrian. Locrian isn't usually used. But that's the gist of it. Get your head around the pentatonic scale, and everything else will be just additions or alterations of that if you really think about it hard enough, really. Most things, at least. And now the main part of the lesson is that I just cleared up a confusion for myself today. I was wondering about modes in songs, in rock and roll, and how they change and multiple modes in the same song. So, should I do the examples first, then explain it, or should I explain it and then do the examples? I'm going to explain it first and then do the examples. So the trick in rock and roll is everything starts with Dorian mode. That's the center. So if I'm in E, it's E, F sharp, G, A, B, C sharp, D, E. Now that's not just that's just the center starting mode. Everything else is based on that. So the two closest ones are to that without being Dorian are first Mixolydian, which is if you raise the third, E, F sharp, G sharp, A, B, C sharp, D, E. That's one sharp away from Dorian. Then you go back to Dorian. Now the other alteration you can do is flat to 6. That makes it an Aeolian, and that's E, F sharp, G, A, B, C, D, E. And then back to flat and sharpen again, you go back to Dorian. So that's the whole key to rock and roll. Start with Dorian, and rather than think of 2 modes or 3 modes at the same time equally, don't do that, because you're going to wonder why they're 2, why they're 3, and you get confused. At least I did. Until you think of Dorian as a center, and then you're just adding sharps or flats to that, or changing to sharps and flats to that. Usually 1 sharp to Mixolydian, Dorian, 1 flat to Aeolian, Dorian, but those are the 3 modes usually used, Aeolian, Dorian, Mixolydian, or you can say Mixolydian in any order you want. But Dorian's the main one. That way you think of it as Dorian as a center, plus 1 as Mixolydian, minus 1 as Aeolian, back to Dorian as center. Then it makes more sense than why there are all these modes there, and I didn't know what I was doing. And if you start with Dorian as D, and if you're playing only white keys, you can get every mode from starting with Dorian within 3 sharps or less and or 3 flats or less. You just can. Explain. Like E Dorian. 1 sharp makes E Mixolydian. Another sharp makes E Ionian. That's 2 sharps from Dorian. Finally, 3 sharps from Dorian makes E Lydian. I said Ionian before, right? 2 sharps is Ionian. 3 sharps is Lydian. And that's the sharpest as it goes, and all I did was 3 sharps from Dorian. Now let's try the flat direction. Here's E Dorian. 1 flat, flat 6 makes E Aeolian. 2 flats makes E Phrygian. 3 flats makes E Locrian. So all I do is sharp up to 1 sharp, 2 sharp, 3 sharps, or 1 flat, 1 flat, 1 flat, 2 flat, 3 flats, 1 flat, 2 flats, 3 flats, or just stay with Dorian, and you can get any mode possible with 3 or less alterations in either direction, sharp or flat, which is what's so cool about Dorian. It's right in the middle. It's the middle of the circle of fifths in the white keys: F, C, G, D, A, E, B, B, E, A, D, G, C, F. So it's the most natural mode to use as a starting point, and it's used as the prime mode for rock and roll. The variations being sometimes you go up sharp to Mixolydian, and sometimes you go flat to Aeolian, and usually it's within those contexts and usually in the same key for the whole song. But there's of course infinite ways to accept exceptions to that, but I'm just making it simple for now. 3 examples I'm going to use for this effect. And then I'm going to do my own stuff, which I'm really more looking forward to than the examples, but here are the examples. Third Song from the Sun. Starts in E Mixolydian because it's... That's E Mixolydian. Very pretty scale, actually. But it doesn't end there. Then he goes... suddenly that's E Dorian. That's E Dorian, but still the same song, isn't it? But then it's back to this part. And this is E Mixolydian as well. And all that. But then he does an E Aeolian thing. He goes. When he goes. That's a flat sixth. That's an Aeolian note. Now he's in E Aeolian. So now I'm in E Aeolian. But the whole thing's basically E Mixolydian, but you threw in E Dorian and E Aeolian. Now sometimes, like in that case, Mixolydian is the prime mode, not Dorian, but still the three prime modes of the centerpiece of rock and roll, which is Dorian, Aeolian, and Mixolydian, are used here. So it's a good example. Mixolydian theme, but Dorian undertones and Aeolian undertones with the rest of the song make that point that I just said. Now the second song I'm going to do as a point for that is "Wait" by White Lion. So, you got an A chord. Then this, I'm going to spell it out for you guys. This tritone is between G and C sharp. That's actually the A7 implied, which is A Mixolydian. A Mixolydian, right? You can hear the A dominant 7 sound. Then it goes down to this. That's a G Mixolydian, which implies A Aeolian. Oh wow! Since we're in the key of E, that's E Aeolian. I mean that's A Aeolian, which since we're in the key of A is A Aeolian, which is an Aeolian mode. So now we've gone from A Mixolydian to A Aeolian. So that already used two of the three modes, Mixolydian and Aeolian, just in that intro. That's a D triad, or D power chord, which is both in a lot in Dorian and Mixolydian. Then it's this E dominant 7. That is E7. And that's the fifth in A, the dominant chord, and that's just standard rock, music harmony. It really would imply at least an Ionian mode on the A, but I'm going to call it more of a bluesy thing because it's a 5 chord. It's also in the blues, and the blues is Dorian, Mixolydian, more than Ionian. So just a standard flat dominant 7 harmony. Back to the A. Then he goes. That's A Dorian. Or it could be Aeolian, but I'm gonna go with A Dorian for now. So that shows our theme of Dorian is part of our theme here. Then he goes, but that's an F Lydian type, a G Lydian type sound, which implies A Mixolydian. So now we've done Mixolydian. So we've already done Aeolian. we already did Mixolydian with this lick, Aeolian with that lick, Dorian with this lick, Mixolydian with this lick, and then Dorian with this lick. Actually, it's a Dorian with a major. Actually, it's still Mixolydian, kinda. But I'm going to think of it as a Dorian because it has a sharp, a major sixth. This is just the major third is incidental. It really should be. It's a passing tone, but it's a Dorian-ish thing. Then he goes. That's a flat sixth, which is an F, which is definitely a Aeolian. So now we're back to the Aeolian sound. So he's playing A Mixolydian, A Aeolian, sometimes A Dorian, but yet the song is like a killer Mixolydian. I mean, killer Dorian rock song. So that's my second example. Third example is Roxette with their song "The Look." I just haven't really played it in a while, but it's. That's Mixolydian, and A Mixolydian. A is a popular guitar key. Got the look. But now it goes to A Dorian. Blue. We just went to A Dorian. I got chills down my back, and you could, if you saw the bump, you could probably see the goosebumps if you were here. What could make this brown and go to blue? That's definitely a transition from the opening A Mixolydian to A Dorian. Now it's I say la 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 la. She's got the look. That's A Aeolian. La la la. She's got the look. And then back to the Mixolydian. A Mixolydian, then A Dorian. She's got the look. Beautiful. Then that last part's Aeolian. A Aeolian. So you got A Mixolydian, A Dorian, Aeolian in 3 different songs here. I know they may not have been perfect examples, but they were examples. And there you have it. There's so many songs like this. It's more those 3 main modes. A lot of songs are just in Dorian and forget everything. Just forget everything. Just Dorian. But sometimes if throw in Mixolydian, that's 1 sharp. Throw in Aeolian. Throw in whatever key, or not. Doesn't have to be A, but Aeolian for a flat, and then usually Dorian is the center. And that cleared the confusion up for me because that way Dorian is the center. So there's not too many modes at hand to understand. I understand it now because Dorian's the center. You can go either direction usually, and back to the center. And sometimes even focus on one of the others, but it's those 3 main modes. If I go 2 to the right, if I go 2 sharps, I get Ionian, and that's not such a rock and roll mode. If I go 2 flats from Dorian, I get mixed Phrygian, and that's also not so much a rock and roll mode. The Ionian is wrong because it's too happy and bouncy and classical. The Phrygian is wrong because it's too heavy metal and dark. Straight-ahead rock and roll, Dorian, Mixolydian, and Aeolian usually. I mean, there's exceptions to everything. And if I go all the way 3 sharps, I would get Lydian. That's extreme, jazz, Steve Vai type stuff. And if I go extreme 3 flats, I get Locrian, and that's very death metal, Megadeth, Metallica. But both those 2 extremes are not mainstream rock and roll. Yeah, there's a place in rock and roll for everything. Period. Rock and roll is that great, but for mainstream rock and roll, most of it starts with Dorian, then can go sharp to Mixolydian and flat to Aeolian. It's based on Dorian usually. Now, the fun part for me, at least, you guys may not like this part, but I'm going to do my own stuff. I showed you 3 examples that other people did. Now I'm going to do my version. So I'm going to show how in my own playing and my own jamming, especially now that I've got this straight in my head, let's show how I do it. So let's say let's talk our way through this. Let's say I'm in A. So right there, all that would make a Aeolian. That's A Aeolian. Now I might go. That's A Dorian now. Now I'll do some A Mixolydian. I might go, I want to do it again, A Mixolydian. Let's think hard here. I might do this. I might go, what could I do? Actually, I like the challenge of all this. Oh, I know what I could do to get the Mixolydian thing. I mean, I'm going to do some Mixolydian. That's A Mixolydian. If I combine all three, let's try to do a riff that uses all three of those. Make it a little more musical so it's not so obviously fabricated. Make it, let's have fun with it. It's all three of those modes: Dorian, A Mixolydian, and A Aeolian. Phrygian, sorry. Make it a little more melodic. Do a lead for it. Do a lead. Slow it down a little bit. So, yeah, there's all good rock and roll comes from just those three modes. And if you get your head around, like I just opened up my mind today when I realized that you just use Dorian as a starting point, and you can sharpen one for Mixolydian, back to Dorian, you can flat one for Aeolian. All those modes are admissible. In fact, they have free admission, backstage pass, whatever you want to call it. Those three modes always are okay. Now I want to talk about the other part of what I talked about just now in my lesson. This lesson is I want to talk about the Paul Gilbert thing. three people that have birthdays like me are Randy Rhodes. He's 12/6/56. I'm 12/6/66. 10 years apart to the day. Steve Vai, 6/6/60. I'm 12/6/66. That's 6 months and 3 years. 6 years and 6 months older than me. 6 years apart. 6 years and 6 months apart, which is half of 13 years. Plus, we both have 6/6. Paul Gilbert, he's 11/6/6. I'm 12/6/6. We both have 6/6. He's exactly 1 month older than me. That makes me feel like it's my the universe wants me to get my head around these three guys. So I did with Randy, and I did all right. He's tough. And then I did with Steve. He's even harder, but didn't take as long because I'd already done Randy. And then Paul was the hardest, but it didn't take me as long because I'd already done Steve and Randy. I think I finally got my head around Paul's stuff. So I'm going to be doing some Racer X, I think, from the first two albums and maybe the third album, which is a live album. First album is called Street Lethal. Second album is called Second Heat. Third one is called Live Extreme Volume. And my alternate picking is coming up to speed lately, especially on my walk today. Can I show you some? Is that okay? I'm going to start off slow and dorky, but I'm going to show you guys my alternate picking is doing better. Because even Paul wouldn't always play fast. He didn't always have to do it because he knew he was Paul Gilbert. Finally, I think I can get Paul's stuff down. So that wasn't easy to learn. It's fun to do now that I can do it. But the only thing I can say about how to get there, if you realize that I have gotten there, if you don't think I've gotten there, then you can always shut off the video and say I suck. Even comment and then say I suck and leave. But I think I got it. It came down to just being conscious of every stroke. Don't just say, I'm alternate picking. Say, I'm doing a down now, then I'm doing an up, and now I'm doing a down, and now I'm doing an up. Now I'm doing. Be aware of your actual strokes. Because when you become aware on that level, you can play faster than heck. Down, up, down, up, down. No distortion. Anyway, I love it. It's not easy, but It wasn't for me. I don't know, maybe you guys get it right away. Maybe you don't even need to practice. Maybe you just know how to play guitar since you were born. But for me, it took me those 30 years. I got alternate picking in 1995. It took me those 30 years from then until 2025, 30 years later, to really get to master my alternate picking. And I'm really happy that I'm where I'm at, and I want to share that in this lesson. So I love you guys. Peace, love, and rock and roll.